Hey people, I got y'all some good stuff here. I'm gonna read these 4 lines in this Greek. But this is the origin of nigga please. And so that term is short and it means please explain yourself. And this is where it comes from right here. You know, they tell us that the ancient Egyptians and Greeks, they called the planets wandering stars because they didn't know they were planets. And that's where our word planet come from. And that's a crock of shit. This 4 lines gonna prove that that's all a crock right here. You know, in the Hebrew, you know, your 2 basic words for no is ain, and that's where wane comes from, vain. You know, vain meaning empty, or wane, you know, on the way down, or ain, I ain't gonna. It's where the word ain't come from. And then when it reads backwards, it's where you were naya, no, hell no. It's where that comes from. And when it reads backwards and forwards, you know, it's nigh, in, not in. And usually the other base word they'll say is low, as in the 10 Commandments. It'll be spelt L-A with a O dot, low, L-O-W. And they'll force this all on there often, 570 times, it says here, and 147 with and no. They'll force that on there. But where this low and no, this low and ain, on the opposite in the Greek, where it says low in Hebrew, it'll say much in the Greek, and it'll say okay. Where it says nay in the Hebrew, it'll say okay in the Greek. And so these 4 lines here, he's putting up an argument. And what made me catch this, I was looking at the word vain, and I ran into this where it's talking about, you know, there is a God beside me, and indeed no other. They had a tough time trying to force this together. And no other rock, not. And this, so that's when I learned there's another word they give, negative. Ball is, B-O-L is not. The rock ball, not, hardly else. And so I read this in the Greek first to see what they would say, and this all comes out really plain, and it's an argument. And so this is where your word please comes from. Oh, please. Much is not do not. That's much. And it's perical uptest. Perical uptest. And so they have turned this word perical into please over the years. The perical. And they tell the Greeks it means please. Hit the translator. You know, did you mean please? Perical. And it doesn't mean please, but it means please explain. And much para, along with the call of what you said, put up some testament. Please explain yourself. You know, show me where you're getting this shit from. Perical up test. My nigga, please. So I just read this 4 lines here, and it fit together so well. I'm gonna read it again here. And it starts with, and on a tell who's in. And so on a tell who's in, you see the oozing there, and that's where Susan, and the tell is, you know, the planet's talking, oozing that goes around, you know, and it's on a tell. They're telling you something. On a tell who's in, as a name is on, to date as. Not the water, but the date, to date as. And the planets, you know, coming around as on a name's on, to date. The planets, you know, the heavens shall rise up in the east and going around, and they're going to tell us the names of the dates. Sure to. It never fails, you know. They're coming up in schedule. And as yet, you see the OS as, and that's correct. This is one, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they mess it up. They have to fit, they're trying to force this meaning over it. And as yet, upon, you know, upon para, along with, and per are, along with, are, the ray on, the sun, to door, to come through, a door. And so this looks like utus, but it's of what as here, shall say, the king's man used to come out in the middle of the square and he would say, here, here, and he's fixing to say something. Of what as here, to thee of him, in the Hebrew, it's Alahim. When they're making fun of it here, it's thee of him. And of what as boast, he boasts to. And a lot of these words, you skip the I, it means to make, but we understand that the boast to, is when he called by himself to make. He's spitting it on out there, is what he says. And thee of him, making fun of it. To of what as boast to, what he says upon to, upon to anomity. Anomity is something that's not going along with the plan. It's different from the rest. Anomity, to yak of, as shit you spitting out your mouth and don't know what you're talking about. The yak of. You see in the Greek here, the word for a woman is, to yak O's, the woman that you want to get in her pants, the yak O's. This is the yak of. And vav, not necessarily and, but connected to heteros, a heterosexual, the opposite. And it's where your word eros, and to its eros, to its, to its attraction, and to its attraction epigraphies, to put it in the writings, and not the hand, but to share, the share make of two. And to thee of him, to Elohim, to thee of him, to epi, to on, to anomity, is real, boast it to, the boast, to boast, the boast it, the boast make, of what is ledge they, of the O's. And so this is, the O's is the planets circling, the heavens going around. This is thee of him, the great one that created it all. And this is the O's as the heavens go around. The O's of in a sile as, where the planets are sitting. They're in a sile. His role, his job. And of Rusum in as, of the Rusum, Rus coming from backwards, the Rusum in as, what on those, of Sabbath, the seventh, the seven, the go protos, the go, the first two, and the go with meta, with thought, with a plan, not just wandering, but with a thought, the plan to from within thought plan, them of, the planum of, okay, not no, but okay, is it, okayest, is okay, okayest, those, give them the okay. 'Tis as for ego state. This word I actually comes from reading the word ego backwards, OG. The I go is what it actually means. And you see it with the mark here, and it tells me that's the way when you read it a second time, people understood the marks. That's what it meant. OG go, I go. And the same for this word, it actually reads through and then backwards. But, it should read both ways, just straight for people who didn't understand that. That was the top secret. And it is, 'tis as for the go, state to, and calls it to, and a nag, and gale at to. This is the word for angel. The double G's, they give the first one an N to create the word angel, A-N-G-E-I-L. But it's a nag of gale at to, in a big wind. and it to him as at, and it to him is at. May of, AQ is of, and they'll give it from, and you'll see another of in here spelled another way, and they'll give it from. And this line is saying that this actually reading with this next word, and so some people were just reading this of, and some people were reading it as a foo. Fooey. These are both of, and so it's a foo of. May a foo of. Oppose. Oppose, suppose, that's where that comes from. And oppose, on thereupon, his ton, his fashion, the aeon, the age on, A-J-O-N, the age on, and to a perch, the perch, the perchman, and where they're sitting up there on their perch, for to elite in, on a gale, et as on a big wind coming out of your mouth, on a gale, it is on whom in, and much pericoloptest, oh please, and much para along with what you're yapping over there, up, put up the testament, show me your proof. Made the plan as it, and so they weren't wandering. A plan has it is the opposite of wander. Wandering is just going with the flow, following which way the wind blows. But this was a plan has it, it's what the astrologers do. They know where the planets are going to be. That's where that word come from. And made the plan has it okay, not, it's okay. And of, you see they give it from again, it's AP now instead of AQ. And so the mark here is telling me that it read, and you can see the mark here now, it read this, a farch, okay, a farch, and then come back and read it again, the arches, and okay, a farce, ARX, a farce, the arches, on it is as it, on it is as it, to a fig gale, whom in, UMI and whom in, from the archers, the one shooting the arrow, amises, from his archers, amise, to create the plan, amises, the archers that create it, and they st, from archers who mise, st, they st, they create it, is to, they is tie, is to, is tie, the O's, the circles, plan, them of. And so this isn't a Greek interpretation of the Hebrew. This is a rebuttal. He's making fun of what was in the Hebrew. And on a tell who's in, as a name's on, to date is sure too, was yet upon pararayon to door, along with the light on to door, of what as, the O reads as of WT, of what as, of what is here to thee of him, thee of him, the great one that created it all. It's making fun of it. And what is boasted, what is boast to, upon to anomaly, of yakin, to heteros, to it eros, to its attraction, epigraphy, and so it's the epigraphy is the God writing the words in the heaven, is what it's saying here. Anomaly, the yakin, to the attraction, it writes, where it's at, where it's attracted, writes the sheriff to thee of him, and upon to anomaly, his role boasts to, of what is ledge they of the O's of in a sile, where the planets are in a sile, his role to of Rusamin as, the Rusamin as, when to Rusum to go back in as, what on the O's of Sabbath, 7, the go protos, the GoPro, the go for 2, in front of for 2, the go for 2s, and the go meta taught plan, and the go with thought a plan them of, okay, okayist, and you could almost read this backward, it is okay, that's okay. Does that make sense to you? The O's, okayest those, tis, it is. As for the go, state 2, and the call is that 2, and a nag, gale it 2, and the nag, blow the big gale, wind it 2, and it to a mast 2, to mast together, to prepare it to make gather all together, it to amass to, may a foo of, oppose on there, just suppose, oppose on thereupon, his ton, his fashion age on, and to the perch 'em in, for to elite in, a nag, gale it as on, in, is on 'em in, much periculop test, much along with you call, up some testament, show me some proof, made, the plan has it, okay, a farce arches, on it is as it, to a fig gale, a fig is the not the truth, they covered herself with fig leaves, and that's a big lie, it's a figure, the fig gale, the great wind, whom in from archers, the direction is pointing, amise, is it they, is tie, the O's plan them of, and so he's asking, please explain your theory, and so it's not written by Isaiah, it's not the story of Isaiah, it's a rebuttal to the story of Isaiah that was written first over here in the Hebrew. And that's just an educated guess. I didn't read the Hebrew yet. But this is an ancient flat earth argument. And he's arguing with a flat earther. And you could tell by the words in here, he's talking about the 7. And the 7, the go forward to, the go in front. And the roosing, the roosum in as is the retrograde. Please explain this retrograde. It's the same argument I have with the flat earthers. Why does God turn them planets backwards every once in a while? They make a 6, in their retrograde. And so he knew that the sun was the center of the solar system in his writing here, and he knew we were just another rock. We were just another rock traveling around, another rock ball traveling around the sun. And he's telling them to, try to explain this, that we know when everything, the cause it to, the give the cause it to, everything is made to plan it, the plan as it, we can guess where they're going to be because we understand their rotation and our rotation, from within the thought, a plan, them of, okay, is it the O's, of roosum in as their retrograde of to, what on the O's, the Sabbath of the 7, those 7 gods that go around, the go for to, the go in front of. And so I have to go back and read the Hebrew to see if it's just 2 different ways of saying the same thing. But best chances are it's an argument here. But best chances are that the Hebrew reads a couple different ways. And so if you don't know the reading directions, it talks about a flat earth and God retrogrades those planets. And then when you come back and read it with the knowledge of the directional markings and how to read the points, it probably says the opposite. Because that's what it looks like mostly in the Greek. It looks like they didn't quite understand how to read the Hebrew a lot of times. So I made all this in one take, and it was real difficult going back and cutting it. And I looked into it, and everything is working super fast, but it's all these extra tabs I use for my memory that have my CPU maxed out. And so this is a last call. If somebody could tell me how I could save all this memory. I know it's somewhere on my computer because I go offline and it'll put it back up if it crashes. But I'm going to have to go through here and erase a lot of this memory because it's what's slowing everything down. So if anybody knows, how I can save all this, where I got to go to save all this so I can keep all my history, back and forth where I was searching. Somebody shout at me and give me a clue. I don't even know how to word this to look it up on the internet. I don't even know how to say it in computer geek language. But I'm going to search a little bit and I'm going to have to go through and clear out, all these tabs that I keep open from my memory because that's what's loading up my CPU. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.